Took a moment to think back to the principal purpose for this channel at this moment in time. It's called Fin-Free Cloud. I have a history of wanting to change names over time, rebranding. For the time being, this channel is still called Fin-Free Cloud. So I took a moment before this video to write out my thoughts on what I think that means today, and then try to compare that to what it meant close to a year ago, probably maybe 10 months ago from when I'm recording this. So let me look at what I wrote here and I'll read it out loud for us. So, Fin-Free Cloud is a concept that when making videos, there are a lot of costs, but technically, it is close to free, financially speaking, to upload to the internet. I kind of left it at that, but then I also added in parentheses kind of an aside that you might say in a script, an aside that says, aside from the sunk cost of already owning a computer and or a smartphone, consider that initial capital expenditure. So I feel like it's kind of two different. I could have stopped at the one part before the parenthesis. I find that when I'm coming up with a meaning for something, I kind of have the caveat after. I probably don't need the caveat, but I'm kind of thinking about if someone was watching this channel, this video, and therefore this channel for the first time, what would be something they might disagree with? Like if I say uploading to the internet is close to free, financially speaking, what might be an objection that would be reasonable? And I still come back to this idea of as far as even so much so as long as I've been away from making videos, a lot of the memories of making videos they still stick with you. And I remember thinking that um, when you have any sort of video project, video channel, video initiative, staying organized is one of those skills that I don't think is really taught all too much. I mean, when I think about organization for my video clips, I think back to an animation video class. I guess a 3D animation class where we used this open source tool called Blender to make animated stories, animated videos. And when I think back to that experience, I remember our professor at the time had us name files in a PC compatible format, even though sometimes we'd be working on the Mac desktops or the PC desktops. The professor had us name our files in PC accessible format. Something that MacBook, as I understand, has done, that Apple has done, is to to improve the user experience. They don't always require naming computer, I guess, computer language naming. So my understanding that the way Apple treats file names is the user can write whatever file name makes sense to them. They can include spaces, they can include dots, characters that aren't allowed on PC naming. And then I think on the back end, Apple has an actual computer name for the file that doesn't use characters that aren't allowed. I think Google Drive also took a book out of Apple's user first approach. And in my experience, when I name files on Google Drive, it lets me have spaces, lets me have dots and things like that. I'd have to double check on the dots part. But the reason why I keep bringing up dots as a character on file naming is that for PCs, kind of the more original computer, that when you put the dot, that's kind of the file extension. So like dot PDF or dot docx for Microsoft Word, or there's other ones too. I mean, dot PPT for PowerPoint. when you do the dot, I think it signals to the computer that it has to look for a file extension. That's why that dot character is not legal in the name of the PC file. So that was a long-winded way to explain that, or not to explain, but to elaborate on, we were trained that we should name our files in a PC accessible format, which largely came down to, when you're writing your file name, to start with lowercase, and then every time you get to a new word, instead of doing a space, do a capital letter and then write the next word, and then a capital letter and write the next word. So this way you have one word, but it's easy to read and it's quicker to type than to constantly go for the underscore, which you have to go shift underscore. All this is to say that when I think about making videos, and organizing them is not it's not something I enjoy, and I also don't think it's something I'm incredibly well suited at. It might just come down to I don't like doing it, therefore I believe I'm not good at it. But this fin-free cloud, there's been a lot of phases that led up to the creation of this channel. And if I were to kind of break down those phases, I don't have this written out. I'm kind of talking out loud and trying to piece together the phases here. There's this phase of making videos where you finally get over the hump and you record a video on your phone. Let's just say an iPhone, for example. So you record a video on your iPhone, and now it's going to either back up to your iCloud photos, maybe your Google Photos. Those, I think, in my understanding, those are kind of the two main ones that iPhone users use. I have gone down a lot of rabbit holes of a variety of different tools. If I were to list out all the different cloud tools for storing videos that I've used, it would be a pretty long list, I would say. And that's for better or for worse, too. I think the benefit of iCloud Photos is that it's built into the Apple ecosystem. So even though the uploading and downloading can be kind of slow when you want to access a particular file on iCloud.com/photos, the actual syncing, in my experience, happens in the background for when you're using your iPhone. And then, for example, when you plug in your phone to charge, it has that extra juice to do its extra syncing of particularly video files that are much larger than photo files. Google Photos seems to have a better search function for finding things in your vast library of photos. But if I think about the different phases, is you finally go over the hump, you start recording videos, or you make one video. Now it's either you record it with your phone, probably because it might feel too intimidating to open up your computer and then turn on the webcam. The phone, at least, you feel like you can have some like walking around space and have some energy to how you're talking. I think that's kind of the rationale there. But now this video just sits on your iCloud Photos, or it just sits on your Google Drive or your Google Photos, or insert cloud tool. Or if you're not using any cloud backups, it just sits on your phone. And then the next phase is, let me try to upload just to get something out there. When you upload to YouTube, they have the option for private, unlisted, and public. Now, I think the next phase is, let me just get it onto YouTube. I can organize my stuff there and then decide what I want to publish publicly later. So now that video is uploaded onto YouTube as unlisted. Now, unlisted means that if you copy the URL and you text it to someone, or you email it to someone, or you airdrop it, to use Apple terminology, they can access that video, but it's not publicly on the channel. You need the exact URL. And then I think also what it means, it won't get synced by public search engines, so it won't show up in SEO results. So even if the channel, like fin-free cloud, shows up on a Google search, any unlisted videos would not show up on that channel. Only the public videos would show up. So let's say we've walked through two phases now. I think there's probably a lot of sub-phases as well, but telling a story in threes tends to be a lot easier to digest, not only to tell the story, but also for the listener to digest the story. And then the third phase that I believe FinFree Cloud is kind of has its operating thesis on is let's skip past phase one of you record a video and it just kind of sits in darkness on your phone and or your cloud storage provider. And let's skip past the phase two of you upload to YouTube, you make it unlisted, and you just like text it to a few friends, maybe family, maybe a coworker, like, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? Let's skip phase one and phase two and skip right to publicly available videos on YouTube at the risk or the cost of being very disorganized, of not really having specific titles for the videos, not having kind of that organization piece that you would kind of come to associate with a proper YouTube channel. So that's what FinFree Cloud is doing, and part of it is kind of taking that TikTok approach, or the approach that TikTok taught a lot of people is that you can make a different algorithm, an algorithm that rewards that compare even the most boring content with someone and or a group of people that is interested in that boring content. It's not boring to them. And TikTok kind of blew up the idea around what algorithms are meant to do on social media. It's not always, it kind of broke with the model of, I guess you could say it went for like hyper personalization, but it also broke with the model of not needing a ton of followers to get your content seen. And then I think we've seen other platforms kind of follow in TikTok's, I guess, trailblazing innovation of changing how social media algorithms operate, in sort of allowing the smaller creator the chance to blow up, to grow an audience. So FinFree Cloud, as I reflect on this, and even during this 10 to 15 minute video, reflect on what is FinFree Cloud trying to do? What topic is it trying to hit on? What problem is it trying to address? And I think it does come down to, if we break it into those three phases of video, of recording videos, the first phase, you finally get over the hump. It's almost like phase zero is like you're trying to go over that hump of just pressing record. And then phase one is, if you don't publish it right away, it becomes that much harder and harder and harder, I would argue, to publish. It's probably different when you have like a whole editing team and production team around you, because there's actually a reason why the video is not getting published right away. It's actually the video is getting worked on. It's getting optimized, cleaned up, getting to look cool with different effects. But I think when you're sort of a solo creator, when you're the time between, or the delta between when you record a video and when you publish it, the bigger that delta gets. It's almost like the exponentially harder it gets to publish that video. So FinFree Cloud is addressing that challenge, that problem that I would argue is not really labeled or named, and I'm trying to bring attention to that. And then also letting, in this case, a YouTube algorithm give YouTube the chance to just have some content. It has to be public for YouTube to be able to index it and actually show it to people without requiring you, with a YouTube unlisted video, to send, hey friend, here's my YouTube URL link. Here, here's more of a manual sending of the video. So it's also giving YouTube the ability to feed the YouTube beast, and give YouTube a chance to be like, let's show this to a small subsection of people. If they like it, we'll show it to more. If they like it, we'll show it to more and more and more. So I think this channel now is at, I think the last time I checked, I think technically it's at like 16 or 17 videos. I would imagine it would need to be, there's something nice about the 100 number. it'd probably need to go at least 100 videos before making any um, judgments on the direction of the channel, areas for improvement, things like that. But um, this video went in a number of different directions. I think the thing I want the takeaway to be is that FinFreeCloud started off with a certain operating thesis, and I think it's still pretty close to that operating thesis, and that I detailed in this video. Maybe for a future video, I'll reflect a little bit more on what was specifically going through my head. I'll look at when the channel was created and really try to think back and look through some of my notes that were during those calendar dates and think what was going through my head to really make the FinFreeCloud exist in the YouTube world. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting too. This idea of one of the nice things about the internet, even though there can be a lot of challenges with different opinions and having a difficulty understanding one another in the digital medium. What is nice about it is that you can there's very low marginal cost to upload ideas that you're toying with or playing around with to the internet, and the FinFreeCloud is using that largely in YouTube, and then figure out how to kind of broaden out the fan out and broaden our horizons from there.